Hello, everybody out there at Bourbon Real Talk land. Have a very special COVID-19 episode coming your way. Sitting here with my good friend, Tanner from Union Bear.
What's up, guys?
And obviously, the whole world is in flux.
Yes.
We got some weird stuff going on, and this is going to be a little bit of a different episode because we're not drinking whiskey, but that's because it's pretty early in the morning.
Yeah.
And you're also a coffee guy too, so.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, what I thought would be good, since the whiskey community as a whole, we tend to gravitate towards a handful of bars and restaurants that cater to the whiskey enthusiast community, and Union Bear is definitely one of those places in the North Texas, metroplex, and this coronavirus and stay-at-home orders and all of that stuff is having a major impact on businesses, specifically the service industry. Is that correct?
Correct. Basically, Governor Abbott has issued an order to shut down all dining rooms. So we are at, across the state, takeout and delivery only.
Takeout and delivery.
Yes.
Okay. There are things that can be done to kind of make it a little bit easier for bars and restaurants, right? And you guys are actually experiencing some difficulties that the average everyday person may not even know about.
Right.
And so let's talk about what it has done to your business and your staffing needs to be suddenly switched from takeout only.
Yeah, so with the service industry, people rely on the tips that they get, right? Mm-hmm. So with the slowdown, because we're only doing curbside to go and all that, we were forced to lay off all of our hourly employees. That being said, there's a lot of things going back and forth about why are restaurants doing that. Well, one thing is if we were to, as a whole, as an industry, not Union Bear, not 33 Restaurant Group, but as a whole, if most restaurants, some of these restaurants won't survive this anyways. There's some people that were, hanging on. This is a volatile industry. There's restaurants that were closing before this happened.
Right.
There were restaurants that were depending on St. Patrick's Day on Lower Greenville that, that's a huge day that people make not to quote Step Brothers, but I want to get my nut. And that Lower Greenville Parade is a Catalina wine mixer for a lot of restaurants. So that getting canceled, the shelter in place and all, and just going to go and all only has caused a lot of people to just shut the doors, turn off the lights, and some people will not be reopening. That's not us. We are a strong company that will survive this. Mm-hmm. But in order to, first of all, if you're a server, I can come in here and let you take food out to cars and hopefully make a few bucks a day, or I can allow you to get on this government assistance plan. And I chose to do that early so we can get, people on some of that. Some of my guys are working at Total Wine. One guy I know got a job at Costco. Because those industries are like, oh my God, we need more people. Mm-hmm. So temporarily they're finding other work and also filling, out for this assistance plan. So what we've decided to do is stay open, service you guys, service the community, and then all tips and all gift card sales, all tips we make, and a large, all the proceeds we're putting into an employee tip fund or an employee assistance fund. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I said the wrong word. There's also some things out there that a lot of you guys watching with some raffles and all that I've been trying to raise money to put in that same fund. So we're hoping to get, $100,000 together. Mm-hmm. To divide amongst our staff. Now, I've got a few staff that might be a host that works 2 days a week that lives with mom and dad.
Right.
They're not going to get a check from us.
Right.
But I've got some people that support either students or single moms or, supporting a family that we're hoping to provide a little bit of relief. If the government can give them some relief, we can give them some relief. And then furthermore, stay top of mind for people and provide a place when you open the doors that people can come jump right back into the game and I don't want to say never miss a beat because we're missing beats, believe me. In this industry, beats are being missed.
Sure.
But a place for people to come back and have a strong business to come back to.
Right.
So that's kind of the reason for those choices that we're making across the industry.
Yeah, and some of these changes are affecting the service industry differently depending on what kind of licensing they have.
Yes.
Right? So I know this is a bar, a restaurant, and a brewery.
Yeah.
I know of a brewery that said basically he's going to have to close his doors because St. Patrick's Day is a $40,000 day for him, right? And at the time, there was nothing that he was able to do, right? There are different types of licensing for the service industry, and if you only are licensed for alcohol and you don't have a license for food,
yes,
then you're just shut down right now, right?
Yes, because there for a while they kind of worded it where you could do cocktails to go. So people were picking up cocktails, taking them to the house, frozen margaritas, all those kind of things. It seems as if we've gone and kind of reversed that and been like, you can sell the mixer separately to go to the house and no bottles over $3.75. So in the bourbon world, no 750s behind me. They're not allowed to be sold. Well, I don't know a lot of bars that run on 375s.
Right. Like
I'll get 175s if I can.
Right.
It's like the bigger the bottle, the better the price, right? So, there's not a bunch of bars out there that are like setting on a bunch of 375s. And so you either have to buy that and hope for the best, which is an expense.
Right, when your
revenue's
down. Yeah.
Now, the cocktails to go kind of got reversed. I keep telling everyone it could be. I don't know if any of you guys out there did this, but there were a lot of photos on Facebook that I saw of a guy sitting in his truck or car with a half-drank cocktail hanging out of the window and going, thanks for opening up the laws. And it's like, well, they tightened them back down because I'm sure the TABC went, what the hell is going on out there,
Sure.
So that got kind of tightened back down, but I've been able to sell crowlers and growlers to go from day one. So we're doing a special, buy 2 crowlers at full price and we give you the third one. And I got packs that carry 3. So that's been a big help here.
Right.
Because not being able to sell liquor and all that. You could sell bottles of wine, but those are kind of what you're limited to if you don't have 375s of liquor in your restaurant. But yeah, a lot of these bars that don't sell food. Oh, and I believe the law also read you had to sell food with the alcohol.
Right. Yeah. You couldn't just sell the alcohol.
Yeah. So even thinking about that, you bring up a point I hadn't even thought about.
Yeah.
If you're just a bar, you're
stuck.
shuttered.
Yeah.
And you're running on margins that you may not reopen.
Sure.
So it's going to be tough. People are we get everything reopened. There's going to be some neighborhood haunts that people are like, what happened? And it's like, man, they didn't weather.
Right. Right. Yeah. I did hear one story about a bar and they said, we think depending on how long this goes, we're going to be able to survive. We had to shut our doors because we don't have any way to sell food with the alcohol. So what they were going to do is repurpose. They were about to open up 2 more locations and they had saved capital up to do that. And now rather than open up 2 more locations and provide that employment and all the good things that would have come with that,
100%.
Instead, they're just using that money to keep things afloat. They're trying to pay their staff to do maintenance around the bar and things like that, just find anything for them to do just so that they're not completely out of work. But you did have to lay off all of your hourly staff.
Yes.
And that sounds harsh, but it actually probably was beneficial for some of them to be able to go file for unemployment.
I did it as soon as I knew. you know, it was probably the toughest day of my career because I personally made every phone call and sat down with every person. I didn't want to make everybody come up here to just sit at a booth with me and hear the news. So some people got a phone call. Some people that were here, I personally sat down with. So it was about 50-50. But by the end of the day, I mean, I got home and just asked my wife, I go, hey, can we just sit and not talk?
Right.
You know, like I've had the worst day and poured a little whiskey and just decompressed a little bit. And it's not about me. It's more, I worry about them.
Sure.
And I'm in touch with all of them. You know, it's funny that the Team UB spirit is still so high. You know, the morning I had to do it, before then I had 7 people text me that morning to ask how I was doing. And I'm not a proponent of boys crying, but I broke down a little bit. I had to go to the garage. I was like, keep the kids away from me, you know, because I just couldn't believe that the staff
were thinking about you.
Thinking about me. I'm like, who cares about me, right? I'm worried about you guys and what's going to happen with this. And so, you know, we're just such a family here that I'm staying in touch with everybody. We're going to do a deal on Saturday where the staff can come. We're doing these $33 dinner for twos. We're going to do a deal where the staff can come and get one on us. We did a family meal last week where everybody came and got, you know, a dinner that would feed 2 to 4 people, or if it's just them, they could have a few meals out of it. Again, with the fund, we've raised as a company over 40 grand already just in tips. And a lot of that's you guys. Like, that's not, I mean, it's our, I guess, hard work, but the tip lines have just been stupid.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's leaving that on to go in the real world, right?
Sure.
So it's just been an outpouring. The bourbon community, you know, reaching out and going, hey, we want to do this. I got 4 different things going through, whether
Different
it be
clubs.
Someone Say Whiskey, bars, DFW Whiskey Club, where they're like, hey, what can we do? Can we do this? Can we do this? And I'm like, I've got 3 people yesterday that I just said, hey man, I just appreciate everything. You don't have to put up more bottles out of your collection to start another raffle or whatever. And if you do, maybe help out another restaurant. There's some of us in this club that are at other restaurants, and I'm like, you know, see what you could do for those guys, because there's other people that are out of work.
And for any of the viewers / listeners out there that aren't really actively involved in the whiskey community, we tend to be a pretty generous lot.
Yeah.
And I think that it might be, we like to do fundraisers to assuage our guilt for all of the money we waste on whiskey.
It's like, honey, it's for a cause.
It's for a cause, yeah. So what will sometimes happen is a club will get bottles donated either from club members or whatever source, and then they'll put them together and sell raffle tickets so that, you know, somebody can spend $10 and have the opportunity to win a bottle that might be worth $400. And it's not uncommon for a $400 bottle to bring in, you know, 5 to 7 times what its value would have been in a raffle situation. And the community kind of comes together and does that. So right now there are 4 different variations of fundraisers.
3 raffles and an auction.
And an auction, yeah. And all of that money is going into this employee fund. So that's good. But you all have enjoyed a lot of support from not only the whiskey community, but your regular customers.
100%.
And there are other bars and restaurants out there that could use a little bit of love. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're enjoying, you know, a lot of regulars and support. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying, man, there's a point where I go, man, our lot, and we have 6 restaurants, so there is a lot of people to raise for, but I also have to, you know, it's like the, you know, buy locally, think globally kind of deal, you know? It's like, man, I want you back in this restaurant. I want you at this, when we open back up, I want you here exclusively.
Right.
But like, hey man, there's some other restaurants out there.
Right.
You know, there's a couple of guys that bartend at small bars, and I'm like, you know, we gave a barrel to a different auction to just go, because we use them to age beer, but when we're done with that, if you've aged like a quad or stout in there,
It's done.
It's kind of done.
Yeah.
You can try to reuse them, but then you got to age for like 2 years to get anything out of it. But for a decoration, it's like people want those in their, man caves.
Right, sure.
And so we're like, hey, take this one too, and if you can put it to good use for, one of these small spots that everyone hangs out in, like, please do that, because we're just overwhelmed and very thankful. A lot of you guys listening have either been in on these raffles or whatever, and I can't thank you guys enough. Yeah. It's been awesome.
What are some of the ways that if somebody out there in the listening audience wants to get involved and help a bar or a restaurant? I've been hearing some information about a bartenders union, that they're doing some.
Yeah, there's a bartenders. It's not really a union, but there's the guild.
Guild. Okay.
And they're doing a charity thing. So if you get on, USBG, which is United States Bartenders Guild, I'm sure there's a link. I haven't looked at their website in a couple weeks, but I'm sure there's a link where you could go donate to that. And that's kind of a nationwide thing, to where if you're a bartender, you got laid off, they have a fund going. And a lot of that's through membership and, the paid membership. They've got money together. So it's a pretty strong guild. And then just your local haunts, It's weird because if you haven't tried me, I'd still like you to, but it's probably not the time to go exploring for, like, what about the guys that have been with you for 2 years? I've got a local spot where my wife and kids and I go eat breakfast all the time. It's an Australian couple that opened this breakfast and lunch spot, and they're awesome. And I've been there just every day. Right? So it's
so for those of you, and
it's on the coffee cup.
Yeah, we understand that some of the people listening and watching this, your income's been affected, or you
100%.
Believe that your income is going to be affected. So we're not suggesting that you should spend money that you don't have. But if you are one of the lucky ones who your income is not going to be affected by this coronavirus shutdown, get involved with one of these fundraisers and try to show some love to your local bars and restaurants. Well, probably not the bars, but at least the restaurants that are still open, and get takeout orders when you can. Then there's the Uber Eats, and I think Drizzly is an app that allows you to order alcohol and have it delivered to your house.
Yeah.
And I do know
Favor, I think, does the same thing.
Favor, yeah. And so look for some of those delivery apps, because a lot of the service people that were displaced by the shutdown, they're now working for these food delivery companies.
Yeah.
And it gives you the opportunity to tip. And one of the things people don't realize is, at a really busy restaurant where the food cost is not the cheapest, some of those servers make a good bit of money.
Yeah.
I mean, $60,000, $70,000 a year at some of these places. And so that's not an easy income to replace.
Right.
And if all you're eligible for is the regular unemployment, I have a buddy who was used to taking home after taxes $1,000 a week, and he only qualified for $200 a week in unemployment. And I think some of that may be changed.
Yeah, the new stimulus bill has a deal in it where you will get a little more above and beyond, but I mean, I don't know what that looks like. Does it take it to $400 a week?
Right.
You don't know.
It still doesn't solve the problem. So that's why using some of these delivery apps and going that extra mile and giving larger tips, giving tips whenever you do takeout orders, which one of the reasons that some people do takeout orders is so they can avoid the tip, right?
Yeah.
But now's not the time to do that.
Yeah.
If you have the resources, that would be an excellent way to give back to this community that's been, hit so hard by this.
100%.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to share?
No, I mean, look, it's all about just looking at the other side of this. When we get there, I don't know. Could it be 2 weeks and we get to the other side of this? Maybe. Could it be 3 months? Possibly. But it's all about looking at the other side of this and keeping hope. If there's anybody out there that's, hurting because of this, and, maybe your pay got cut, maybe you're, because all of us took pay cuts in this company, ownership down. It's like we can't do what we have to do to survive, and then us not take it too.
Sure.
Right. But if anybody's out there hurting, just remember, man, this country's great. We will bounce back. And you've just gotta stay positive. I don't know what I would do if some of you guys that are sheltering in place. I've seen a lot of the Shining memes, because I might lose my mind if I had to be at home all day and not leave that. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I feel blessed to be able to come up here and some days get my tail kicked, just trying to raise money for the staff and, settling into our new reality. But, those of you out there that are losing hope remember, we're just a couple weeks in. So always think on the positive side. Always try to look for that bright side, because if you start going negative, cooped up in the house, whether you're unemployed, underemployed, or whatever, it's a bad deal that's going on out there. So we've all got to, smell some roses that we can, even if they're on our computer screen.
For sure. And PM me if you're hurting, you want somebody to talk to. Yeah. I'm available. I'm sure you have other people closer to you that would make you feel more comfortable, but I'm here if you need me. I have seen some efforts to do online gatherings. Yeah. Where people are getting on, video chat with a big group of people and doing happy hours. Yeah. And, just taking a pour of whatever your favorite beverage is at home, but doing it in a group setting, but it's online. You're just sitting in front of your computer. Do something to stay connected and try not to get too down, because it won't be too long before all this is over. We're on the backside of it and we can get back to normal. So. Yeah. Anyways, as always, love you guys. And if you woke up this morning and you're unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that I love you. And I'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk.
Thanks, guys.